All right, I guess that wasn't quite 5 minutes, but let's go look here at the charts overall. Here's my basic setup for kind of my default chart here on stock charts. A couple things about this extra bars. I like to put extra bars. That just creates a space at the end of the chart. It's one thing to look at past data. It's another thing to look at going forward. I like giving myself a little bit of window there. Helps me to kind of look at what's going forward. The moving averages that I use are simple SMAs. Okay, could you use exponential? You could. Exponential is you generally get a little tighter. With currency and commodity trading, generally exponentials work a little bit better. But for stocks and options, things are a little more, a little bit more, a little more um, uh, not as exact. Okay, Bollinger Bands, it's just normal Bollinger parameters of 20, the 20-day moving average, and 2 uh, from a from a standard deviation standpoint. These are the basic indicators that I slap on just for my normal view. Uh, Again, this isn't Vibe or TrendRider setup, but this gives me a good picture here. Okay. Okay, market's pulling back here this morning off of its highs. Okay, so we're talking about a 5 point pullback on the S&P since the market is open. One of the things about this pullback is the IWM has actually gone negative here. We've seen the small caps reverse and go negative. We're still seeing things like Spain, Italy, China, some of the overseas action remains strongly bullish, and we're still seeing more stocks in the green than we're seeing red overall. Is this something to get overly reactive to? No, I don't think so. I think if this were really a strong bearish move, we would be seeing some of the stocks like Google, really reversing hard. Even some of the stocks that have reversed just haven't reversed very much. Okay. Thanks for the article, 1T. Appreciate it. I'll take a look at that here. Yeah, Jersey. How come Carl doesn't buy his top three? Great question. Um, Carl is going to be taking over the vibe in the trend rider trades, and they will come out of his top three. So we don't just trade the challenge trades here. We buy some of the vibe and the trend rider signals. We didn't do any of that last week. Okay, simply because we did not want to create confusion with the challenge, with people coming on for the brand new challenge. We're out there buying Vibe Trend Rider, creating confusion there. We just, as a standard policy, don't. Carl still threw out his top three during that time, and overall they've done very very well. But as we get later in the week this week, you'll see him start to put Vibe and Trend Rider trades back on him based on his top three there. Yeah, Max, great question. And Max asks about the VIX and the options here on the VIX here, and why some of the call options are lower here today, even though even though the VIX is up, 76 cents. So we're actually seeing the December 13 or the December 15 VIX calls are actually down about 5 cents here today, even though the VIX is up a buck. Okay, that this is not uncommon to see in the VIX. Okay, just not uncommon to see in the VIX. It's what makes trading the VIX a little bit difficult because the VIX is moving one direction, right? But the options are coming down, showing, well, they're not expecting the VIX to move up too much higher. Okay, so the fact that option prices on the VIX, the call option prices are moving lower, kind of says, well, just because the VIX is up today, really isn't that big of a deal overall. Okay, the VIX really needs to start to push above 14, 15 to really start to see some of those options pick up in value there with the VIX. Yeah, Jersey, what is the challenge? No, the 100K challenge, the 3 to 100K, where we did our first marathon. We kicked that off here Friday. If you're still wondering what that is, just go into the video library or into Options Education Week and go to the last video there in Options Education Week. It'll explain all about the challenge there for you. Okay, so we have market actually going negative here. Negative this morning. Some of the things pulling back pretty interestingly. MRO's holding up. In fact, there's a lot of stocks out there that are holding up, even though the market itself is going down. Energy is on the weaker side this morning. Some of the more heavily valued stocks are a little bit weak, and some of the strength coming off of small caps. Capital One, some of you are still in some puts on this. You really would love to see this thing break below 70. Would be very nice there. Vegas, Facebook falling. Facebook trying to break the 7 here today. We've talked about this little rally here and where is it going to end, and Facebook probably going to a new low. From a bearish standpoint, Tesla, Facebook, LinkedIn here, and then I'm looking for a bearish opportunity on Yelp, right? And just notice how fast Yelp, a big up move on Friday, just getting erased this morning very quickly. It's just one of the reasons why really paying attention too much to Friday's action can be a little bit difficult overall. But yeah, some of these social media, some of these the higher PE stocks, they're getting sold here. They're getting sold here this morning, and a lot of that can just be because some of the protection expired on Friday, and so they're pulling back on some of the risk there. Okay. I'm very curious to see the reaction in the home builders today. Those who know me, I really would love to get short some of the home builders. So far nothing there that's different from Friday. We did have the housing market index just come out. Not really a strong market reaction to it. Pretty much came in line with consensus. This really isn't a big data point here that just was released. Not really a major data point like the existing home sales that will be coming out Wednesday. Eugene, DHI. Yeah, well, I hear you. I hear you absolutely, right? Dr. Horton, Beazer. Of course, I'd rather, of all the home builders to play on the upside, I'd rather long Beazer and short some of the others than to short Beazer. Beazer just has a different chart than the rest of them. Okay. Yeah, the IWM selling off here. Okay, was one of the first things to sell off this morning, off of its highs. Is it overly bearish here? Not yet. Okay, not yet. But it is something to be a little bit concerned with. We're seeing the dollar itself weak. Okay, breaking down here to the 2170 area. Look, if I want to get long the dollar, I'd like to see it bounce around 2150, 2160. Then look to potentially get long there. Bonds here, just kind of continuing with some of last week's up move. Overall there, nothing major. CSIQ benefiting a little bit from from some of the solar earnings here. Look, with solar, should you exit or keep riding? Look, with solar, if you don't exit, you can watch your gains evaporate in the matter of 30, 40 minutes. And but you can also see your gains double. It's one of the real tough things about riding solar. If you're riding CSIQ from a pure technical standpoint, as long as it holds the 7, I continue to ride there. Okay. Yeah, trader. What would I have to see happen on the IWM for me to say it's overly bearish? For the weakness to hold up through the day. Look, this is something that we have seen more days than not in the market. And you know how much I'd like to be bearish. But more days than not, we've seen the market sell off in the first half hour to hour and just chug higher the rest of the day. This morning, this is pretty much right. We saw the markets up 7 points on Friday, buying into the close, options expiration. We're just seeing that some of that buying come off. Could I go buy some IWM puts here? Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue with somebody who wants some IWM puts here. You're using today's high as the stopping point, but to see IWM bounce 30, 40 cents from here in the next 30 minutes, um, that would be the norm. That would be the norm. Closing above 111, if it's able to stay weak all day, can you take a stab at it? Sure. But overall, IWM has been pretty good this year as it's moved below the 7. Okay, starts to move below the 7, gets some sell off into it. So it's not necessarily the actual price action on IWM that I say, oh, this is, bullish, bearish, whatever. It's the time and when that's happening, right here, that's just a little suspect. Yeah, no problem, Kevin. No problem. Like those of you who've been on for a while, I'm normally not a huge fan of Monday morning entries. You tend to get some nice setups into Monday afternoon. You tend to get some great setups into Tuesday and Wednesday. But Monday morning after expiration, it just doesn't mean a whole lot. Now, are there some things that do mean a whole lot? Yeah. Some of the strength here in the FXI. I'm not buying it here, but this kind of confirms that, hey, these China names are ready to move higher. They're serious about growth. Any type of pullback here in those can be a great buy opportunity. All right, before I hop off, one last look here at MRO. There's nothing really even to look at with MRO. It's just kind of been sitting here all morning. I've been down a little, up a little. Today's ex-dividend, it's a 20-cent dividend overall. So Marathon holding up very well in the face of that. Continues to be strong. The energy sector itself is pulling back here this morning. The XLE here with a big old bearish engulfing on that. We'll see kind of where some of these components actually end up here today. But Halliburton being one of the weaker, and the oil services being kind of the weakest there. Yeah, Enrique, are we doing a trade for the 100K challenge today? We're in MRO, and if there is a really good setup here today, I will. I will. I have some cash available for that. I'm not going to back myself into a corner to say absolutely, but if I do, it probably won't happen until after about 1 o'clock Eastern. Okay, I do want to let this morning play out a little bit. Okay. RD, how is ex-dividend? How does it affect option pricing? Yeah, a lot of times the dividend is actually priced into the option, right? I mean, they see it coming. The option makers see the dividend coming, and you'll see the options already adjust for that based off of the Black-Scholes model. Occasionally, no, not fully. Hindsight, you realize it wasn't all fully priced in. With MRO here, let me go pull up the options here. You're not talking about a major shift in option price relative to where it was based on the dividend. This is really just because of the stock price itself being up there. But most of the time, the calls and the puts already adjust for the dividend. What'll happen is, and you'll notice here on stock charts, it shows MRO this morning opened at 36.16. It never traded there. But why do they show that 36.16? Well, because that is Friday's close minus the dividend minus some of the opening action. So a dividend typically will pull a stock lower. That's one of the reasons why the options were as cheap as they were on Friday. All right, well, great questions. I'll be on chat here with you for the next next little bit here, and then Carl will be joining you a bit later to talk about his top three. Okay, and to talk about some of the other trades. I'll also be on a little bit later to look at the market and some of the setups that are out there. Okay. Yeah, Ken. Lowest just saw was about $1.94 on the MRO options. Yeah, yeah. Okay. I mean, really, there's nothing with MRO to react to or to even sniff at here today. All right. Well, thanks for hopping on, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.